Okay, this is a teardown review of the Firefly YH. It is an unremarkable light bulb, at least at the retail level. It is properly certified with the UL approval for both Canada and the States. But otherwise, it just seems very representative of a smaller brand that you can get from a hardware store. So I want to see how it compares to some of the main brand competitors out there. So I'll tear it apart and analyze its performance. Okay, so here's the bulb, obviously, with the top sawn off, and a pretty standard topology with the LEDs all pointing downwards in a planar array. What is mildly interesting, of course, is everyone seems to try a slightly different pattern of the LEDs to achieve some sort of light pattern. Some of the good things, I can see that the circuit board here actually also has a UL number, so also building trust that their UL marking is legitimate. You can see these little funny indentations. That was just the vise I was using to hold the bulb while I sawed the top off. Looks like the base here is actually probably like an aluminum, but not a casting because it was getting dented, so that's a bit unusual. Let's see what's inside the interior of this. Okay, so some further disassembly. Here's the emitter array, obviously on an aluminum-based substrate, and there's a cap below that, and then another cap. So a lot of parts this one. And something I haven't seen before. This is a deep-drawn aluminum, I presume, outer casing. I haven't seen that before. Normally seen it as being plastic or made out of a casting. Yeah, and inside is a bit of plastic holding a potted AC to DC converter. So that's our next destination. So there's quite a bit going on here with this AC to DC converter. You can see lots of parts. It looks like an EMI choke filter here. This is the AC side on the left, DC on the right. I think this is a transformer. There's a couple of smoothing capacitors. You can see they've had to put shrink wrap around them because they were folded onto the side of the circuit board so they wouldn't short out. No less than 1, 2, 3 MOSFETs, so lots of parts on this board. An NXP based design. Let me just pop up the data sheet for this one. NXP seems to do a lot of design wins, so I've seen a lot of the teardowns. Of course, the AC full wave rectifier here. You can see some really nice touches. They've cut some slots here for dielectric isolation. You can see another UL mark on the board. Again, building real confidence. This is a fully certified assembly. These components here, if you look very closely, they have all sorts of regulatory marks as well. So clearly a lot of parts going on here, but I have high confidence this thing probably did pass the UL. Okay, safety certification. The bulb claims to have UL listing, and the nice thing about UL is there's always has to be a number associated with it. And one can actually look this number up on a database and see if the number matches the bulb. Now, it's no guarantee because unfortunately the UL database doesn't include photographs of the bulb, but certainly the text there is matching what was on the bulb. And in fact, there's also some text in the packaging. The company which made it claims to be the Firefly Lighting Company.com.cn, and they give an address, and that seems to match the database as well. So there is some confidence that this bulb truly does have UL. Light distribution patterns. This is a polar graph. The bulb is in this orientation, and what this tells me is that the light's essentially coming out just downward firing, very little coming out the sides, and very, very little coming out this direction here, which would make this bulb a very poor emulation of an A-shaped bulb. It's more of a spotlight, actually. Okay, this is a watt-hour meter. The packaging said 7 watts. You can see the meter declaring with 6.9, so that was an honest rating. Power factor is 0.79, 0.8. The packaging said it was Energy Star qualified, and within the time frame this bulb was made, I believe Energy Star minimum requirements 0.8. So again, looks like the packaging of the bulb is matching up with the performance of the bulb. Okay, flicker test. The light bulb is shining onto a solar cell, and that creates a waveform in the oscilloscope. And here we of course see the classic 120 Hz pattern. So the bulb does have flicker on it. So the other metric of flicker is to put the scope into DC coupled mode and you get some sense as to the amount of flicker compared to the overall light. I'm always nominalizing these bulbs for about 4,500 lux at the sensor. You can see that most of it is DC with just the ripple on top here. And the last real super easy test for flicker is just simply to get a camera and take a picture of the bulb as it operates. If the bulb has really significant flicker, what will happen is you'll get banding on the shutter. And you can see here that actually there isn't a great deal of banding visible, so the bulb actually has, although it does have flicker, it has relatively little. Okay, what can one say about this one? Actually a fairly complicated bulb, lots of parts, lots of stampings and various bits, so one of the more complicated bulbs I've actually torn down. By late 2014 bulbs had become quite a bit more simple, so this vendor is slightly behind that curve. The actual construction seems pretty solid. The potting compound, of course, to draw heat away from the components. Pretty solid looking topology here, actually. Certainly a lot of care taken, lots of parts. So there you go, sort of a typical, less well known brand name bulb captured out of a hardware store.